Hello, welcome to Minisode 32. Today we're talking about the London Resort, because apparently that's a thing now.
I'm sure many people will contest you saying that.
It's more of a thing than it ever has been before. Let's put it that way.
I mean, yeah. I guess some points in the project they have moved backwards, so moving forwards is better.
Okay, so what's the London Resort, Harry?
You tell me.
You tell me.
You tell me.
It is a proposed theme park which they're planning to build 20 minutes from London by train in Kent. It's basically, they're calling it the Disneyland of UK because it's essentially like a Disney resort but not Disney. And they've got Paramount on board for IPs, they've got BBC, all of this kind of stuff. And then they're going to have 2 theme park gates. The first one's opening 24. And there's going to be loads of rides, different lands that are kind of like British kind of themes. And then hotels, shopping, restaurants, everything. Water parks, you name it, they've got it. But essentially, this thing's been like a rumour for ages, hasn't it? That it might happen, but now it's moving forward.
Yeah. So back in about 2012 or something like that, this kicked off and there was, proposed plans to build what was then called Paramount London, which was the same kind of vibe. It's what you call a level 1 theme park, apparently.
The hell is that?
Yeah, which is like just a theme park on the scale of Disney or Universal.
Oh, level 1 being the top level?
Yeah, so a large scale built from the ground up with different attractions outside of the main resort with hotels and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been on the cards for ages. Not really much has happened, or especially over the past, 6 years or so. There was steps forwards and we saw kind of initial artworks and stuff like that, but then there were steps backwards. One of those was Paramount leaving the brand.
They've done the hokey pokey, haven't they? They've been in and out the whole time.
So then once Paramount left, it became London Resort.
Yeah. Now
Paramount are back.
But they don't get the name anymore.
And then, as you said, other IPs include BBC and ITV. So two quite British brands. So it's a multi theme park and attractions resort with loads of different things planned for it, essentially, isn't it?
It's pretty mad, like the scale of it. Like it literally is the size of a Disney park type thing.
Yeah, so at the moment they're in consultations, so the public can hop onto a live stream with the people who work for London Resort.
Yeah.
And ask them questions about the environmental impact, jobs and what it will do to the local area and all those kind of stuff. I attended it, and what we found was there's a lot of enthusiasts on there asking stupid questions. About rides and whatnot, and
things they haven't thought about yet.
Well, yeah, one person was like, "Oh, you're gonna use the bin system that Disney World has in Magic Kingdom."
What? The bin system for putting your bags when you're on the ride?
No, as in physical bins. So at Disney World, they've got the normal bins, but then backstage they've got these other bins which are like suction, so they suck the bags and put them somewhere else.
What?
And someone asked
Wait, so there's like a tube system for the bin bags?
Yeah.
That is insanity.
I know, it's
but
over
also,
the top.
they could do stuff like that. They could do things
they can do whatever, it's from the ground up now.
Exactly. They could do the underground thing that Disney has and everything.
I don't think they should. It's probably really expensive.
Yeah, but it'd be so cool.
It's probably not worth it.
So cool.
I think with Disney's lands, they're more stupid and varied anyway, so it makes more sense.
I guess.
I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Anyway, so they were asking about the bins.
Yeah.
I don't think we're that far down the lines yet, are we?
So yeah, lots of stupid questions, but then lots of, actual people who live in the area interested about the impact that it will have to their local train stations, stuff like that.
Well, because the existing train station, they're not building a new one or anything, it's already there.
Yeah, so there's a train station. So the main train station that they're looking to get people from is Ebbsfleet. Is that how you say it? Ebbsfleet?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know, Ebbsfleet International, and it's a little bit way away, but what they're planning on doing is running a shuttle service from that train station to the park, so you hop on. They haven't exactly decided it quite yet.
Yeah.
But some sort of, maybe it's just a bus.
It is, yeah, it looks like a bus.
Yeah, but the guys said that they haven't actually decided what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So...
Well, there might be something cool they could do, like, environmentally wise.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the kind of
well,
vehicles.
electric buses would be fine for that kind of journey when it isn't too far. But yeah, so it's going to be directly connected, and as Zoe said, it's 17 minutes away from central London on the train. And they are going big on the kind of... They want more people to visit this park via via public transport rather than cars.
Yes.
I think they said that they planned about 10,000 car parking spaces.
Yeah.
And a quarter of those will be across the River Thames.
Yeah, now this is the thing, right? So this park's going to be on the Thames.
Yes.
And the coolest thing that I saw, well, the thing that, like, I thought that's really cool is the ferry thing.
Yeah.
So essentially, the town on the other side of the Thames, they're going to set up, like, a car park and a ferry port, and they're just going to, like, boat you over.
Yep.
Can we please go there?
Cool,
I want to go from that side. I don't want to go on the bus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Go on a ferry.
So there's ferry. Yeah, it's a big push for public transport.
Yeah.
And a less of a push for cars, you know.
Yeah, there's, like, bike trails and everything.
Yeah. Someone asked, they kind of make you pay for parking, and they're like, of course.
Well, yeah, the parking will be like £20 so that you don't want to use the car park.
So it's quite interesting, actually. What they said is that they are very keen to create tickets that kind of incorporate all of these costs in.
Okay.
So, for example, a ticket that you could buy from the park that has your train fare in it also.
No way.
So that it's kind of like one big ticket, you know? So wherever you're travelling from, it's got your train ticket to get to the park and then your ticket to get into the park, and you just pay one price and it all...
That's so cool.
It's a good idea.
So, like, if you're a tourist and you're staying in London and you go, oh, let's do a trip to the London resort.
Yeah.
Everybody in your family could just book a ticket and it's got the train included in it.
Yes. So they're looking at that kind of thing.
That would encourage people to, like, do it because it's easier. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you have to find your own train ticket and work it all out.
Yeah, and same with parking, they're looking to kind of incorporate that as well. And have things a bit more smart in terms of the ticket pricing.
Well, if it's anything like a Disney park or Universal, whatever, then surely they'll have, like, only the English people are going to have cars. Like, there'll be a lot of tourists going to this park, hopefully, which are not going to hire a car, say if they're just having a trip in London.
Well, you won't need to. It'll be so close to London. What's the point?
Exactly.
17 minutes is nothing, really, is it?
So it's like, that will limit the number of cars coming from tourists.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'll make it easier for tourists to actually visit, because right now, if you go to, like, a Disney park, you kind of need a car, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, most airport kind of situations, especially with Disney parks, there's so many shuttle buses that take you from the airport to the park. Yeah, that's true. But they're never that fast.
No, and they're not environmentally friendly as they can be because they're obviously quite old.
But the infrastructure for this park in terms of public transport access is already great. Yeah. And what they're doing is, you know, they're planning on creating a different but platform, I think, at Ebbs Fleet, specifically.
Yeah, so you know to just go to that one.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
So, you know, they're thinking about everything. I mean, that's from kind of a more logistics side, but in terms of the scale, you mentioned, I mentioned to you before that in the live stream, they said, someone asked PY, he's the CEO, but I'll talk about him in a second.
Okay.
Someone asked PY how big the initial park was, so Park 1, and he said it was as big as the main park at Disneyland Paris. Yeah. And that's real big. Yeah. So it looks small on the concept art, but the scale is huge.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then the second one is a bit smaller. So essentially...
It's sizably smaller.
Essentially what we're getting is like Disneyland Paris kind of size with the Studios Park sizing.
Well, yeah. I mean, size-wise, right. Yeah. So they said about the second park that they're going to build the first one, as you said, 2024. But they'll decide if they're going to build the second one based on the success of the first. Yeah. So if they deem the first one to be a success after 2.5 years, they'll start building the second one. And unlike other kind of parks that have been built in one big go, they're waiting to the very last minute to decide rides and tech and IPs and brands, especially for that second park. So he said that they won't even kind of consider brands and tech that they're going to put in it until
They've got the go-ahead.
Yeah, they've got the go-ahead because there's no point. By that point in time, things will have moved on so much.
Yeah.
And they want to build these parks really quickly so that the tech is as new as it can be. So they're hoping to kind of rush construction in 2 years so that it's as fresh, you know, in the mind of people in terms of the brands that are out there and the ride systems that are out there.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of positive stuff. Whether that works and they'll be able to build it in 2 years is a different story.
That's the thing. If they can pull it off, that'd be great. Because when you think about it, say like an IP gets really popular, like, I don't know, for an example, like Peppa Pig, Polton's would have been able to just add a Peppa Pig land really quickly because it's only like a couple of rides or like one park area, like a land. But if you're building a whole park and you want the IPs to be up to date, then you have to build it so quickly. And there's so much of it to build at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. It's going to be hard. But I think it'll be fine. I think they'll go for like IPs that are kind of long-standing ones. Do you know what I mean? Like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's been around for ages and, you know, the fans aren't going to go away or anything.
Yeah, and like most 1-2 park punches, the first park is more of a general one with a few IPs scattered around, but the second one is going to be much more IP based and more of kind of its own
recent IPs.
Yeah, more of its own kind of unit of IPs rather than having some, say, you know, rides and storylines that they've come up with just off the bat. So talking about PY Gabel of the London Resort, he's the CEO and he spoke quite a lot in the live stream and answered quite a lot of questions. But he's a kind of important factor because PY in the past has been, well, he's known for rescuing big leisure projects. And, you know, they list a few examples. So he was the vice president of Disneyland Paris from 1994 to 1998 and helped turn around that park and improve its operations and how successful it was in terms of the money they were bringing in.
So is he in the documentary, the Imagineering one?
He might be. I'm not too sure.
We'll have to rewatch.
He also turned around the Millennium Dome, now the O2 Arena, or whatever it is, because that wasn't very profitable before. So he's done a lot of things and he has a very high success rate of turning around multi-million pound, billion-pound projects and making them successful. So it's kind of, it wasn't looking too good, and then this guy came on and it's looking a lot better. To save the day. Things are moving at a much swifter pace. And this park is a multi-billion pound project that is not backed by the government, as in like financially, but it's
they're not saying no.
Because it's such a big project for the UK as a whole, the kind of government will help to fast track it through the process of, you know, legislation and okaying it essentially. So I imagine the government's going to find it hard to turn down, but obviously there'll probably be quite a lot of tweaks that end up being made. But I can't imagine the government's going to go, no, you can't build this multi-billion pound, you know, the biggest leisure and amusements project since Disneyland Paris. You can't build that.
And also now, because of coronavirus, like this park's meant to be opening in 2024, by which point, fingers crossed and everything crossed, coronavirus is either gone completely or very much under control. So if they're going to be offering all these jobs and this new tourist attraction to bring in tourism, like, do you know what I mean? This whole big thing of like a boost to the economy in terms of like tourism and jobs in that area, then it's really good timing in terms of like once it's set up and ready, it'll be able to just like boost everything after coronavirus.
Yes. So let's talk areas.
I think we did mention this before, but they are all the same, aren't they, as they've always been?
I think so. I mean, they only really revealed them a year and a half ago, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but we did an episode before about this park.
Did we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh. Anyway, we'll just quickly blitz through. Your order is weird, but sure.
That's the order on their website.
Right, okay. So like any good theme park, they've got a terrible studios-themed area.
Yeah, because it was meant to be like it's basically Hollywood, but they're not calling it Hollywood.
Why,
they're just calling it a movie studio.
Inspired by blockbuster movies and explosive action. Boring. Absolutely boring.
I don't like that one.
Then we get into more interesting ones. The Woods, an enchanted realm, putting a fresh spin on fantasy fairy tales and adventures.
Nice, very
like
English.
That. Very Robin Hood.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the other one, Robin Hood.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, surely that
Isn't
one's
it?
Robin Hood. Yeah.
Oh.
Then there's the Kingdom, an ancient land. England during the reign of King Arthur, where you discover mystical legends, sorcery, and dragons.
Yeah, I like that one.
That was a good one.
King Arthur's a very good idea.
Yeah. Then you've got the Isles, a land of giant creatures and mythical beasts, featuring stunning architecture and 21st century technology.
Because it's like modern tech, but then there's like random creatures in it.
It's cool.
I don't understand. It's like aliens.
The Jungle, the ancient ruins of a lost civilization where explorers can discover secrets and strange mystical artifacts.
I'm bored of that unless it's an English version, because that's like every Indiana Jones themed area ever.
What do you mean? It won't be an Englishified version. How can you
then I'm
Englishify
bored.
that?
I don't know. I'm
be.
bored of it then.
Yeah, it won't be.
Anyway.
And finally, Starport, a 23rd century landing zone featuring alien encounters, big thrill rides, and out-of-this-world science fiction adventures.
Of course, there's an alien area.
Yes.
23rd century, though. That's pretty...
Yes.
What are they going to do with that? Oh, I don't like that, because now it's just going to be outdated really quickly.
What, like all of the Disney areas have been? Yeah, I know. Anywho,
they've got a couple of good ones in there.
I think you have to kind of do it in a good way. Like, I would suggest, if you're listening, like a clean sci-fi look. Because that clean sci-fi look, do you get what I mean? Like glass and white.
Yeah, but that will be outdated soon.
No, but this is what I mean is, go for not try and keep up with the times, but go for a specific genre of the future. Like steampunk future. I can't remember what it's called. But that's a genre, like where the steampunk meets the future, and you can take that direction so that your area is never really outdated, but it's like an alternate version of the future.
Yeah, that's what you need to do, but I don't think they're going to do it from the sounds of it.
We'll see. Hopefully
we
they
need
do.
more images, please.
Yeah, so those are the areas, and then on top of that, those are the areas of the main park at least. As we said, we know nothing about the other one. But on top of that, they have, like all good Disney and Universal theme parks, they have an area outside of the theme parks dedicated to shopping and restaurants and other things.
Yeah.
And this
looks
is called
cool.
This is called the High Street.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
That's very English of like.
Of course it is.
Instead of Main Street, it's High Street, because that's what we call our like main shopping centres.
But the interesting move, which I found very intriguing and quite clever, was most parks feature both kind of like a main street, as you said, take Magic Kingdom, but then also the area outside of that. I don't know what you call it.
A plaza?
Yeah, but no, the area with all the shops and...
Oh, like Disney Springs?
Yeah, so they have two.
Yeah.
So they got their main street, and they've got this Disney Springs, for example. Whereas London Resort's going to put them together.
Yeah.
So your main street is your Disney Springs. So anyone can go along this main street, but immediately after that, that's where you get into the park.
Yeah.
And that's where all of the attractions are, and that's where the gate will be.
So imagine any Disney park, you walk down Main Street and you still haven't paid to get in the park.
Yeah.
And then just before the castle, there's a gate where you pay for your ticket.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would ruin the sightlines in that example of the castle. But yeah, essentially...
That kind of ethos.
You can walk down the entrance pathway, like the big entrance, and do all of the stuff. So like, if you just want to go for a meal and you live in Kent, you could just pop down to London Resort and have dinner. Yeah. Or you can go shopping or whatever you want to do, but you don't even have to pay to get in, which is very clever because they're going to make more money.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah. So they said, they're looking at shops, restaurants. Then they also said that they're looking at other attractions and they've got things lined up, but they can't say yet.
Yeah.
So some of the Disney Springs kind of rip-offs have cinemas. Mm-hmm. Maybe there'll be a cinema. Maybe there'll be other attractions like
a theatre
bowling,
or something.
Or a theatre, or I don't know. Whatever. So yeah, that's happening as well. I mean, that's pretty much the main gist. There's a water park. Don't know anything about that. Loads of different hotels.
Yeah, and there's essentially a staff village that's going to be built for accommodation for staff members and all of that jazz, which I think is good. It's just also the other thing is like they've put a lot of effort into the environmental kind of side of it. They've got protected like marshlands around that they're not going to touch because of the wildlife.
They want to be carbon neutral as well.
Yeah, like the whole, obviously because it's from scratch, they can do it with the environment in mind, so they're not putting in things in place that are going to be harmful, if that makes sense. So
they spoke a lot of solar panels to power both the park and other aspects as well. Yeah, at one point also, they hope to have about 70% of the attractions undercover.
Yeah, which is very much needed.
Very smart move.
Yeah. But I think generally, before like a couple of weeks ago when they started to announce new stuff, I really did not think it was ever going to be built. It was like such a pipeline dream of like having a Disney-esque park like right here. But now we've got, what's his name? PY. He's on board. And they're speaking to the public already, and then essentially the next step is that they have to get it approved by, I can't remember what the name of the person is, but like an official, not government, but kind of like lawyer type situation. And they'll say, because it's such a big project that affects everything, like obviously if it wasn't so big then you wouldn't have to go through this step, but you have to get approval from the big guys. And then once that's happened...
It's a development consent order, a DCO.
Yeah. And that's the next step. And then after that they can literally start building.
Well, after that it's designs, and then they'll start building in spring of 2022.
Yeah, but after the next step, whatever you just said it was called, we'll know if it's going to happen, which is pretty mad.
I mean, the key thing to remember with all of these projects is that they're not finished. They won't happen until it's finished, if that makes sense.
What are you talking about?
So we've seen many, many other theme parks, especially in like Dubai and Abu Dhabi region, where they've started construction, they're half built, roller coasters have been ordered, and they've been put on site, but not constructed. And then everything tanks, and that's it.
Why?
Money runs out.
But they've got the big guns, they're ready to go, right? The investors.
Yeah, but it was the same for all of these as well in the past. And this is what I mean, it's not over till it's over. So until they're open, they might not open.
Until we step through the gates.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, obviously, 2 years ago, everybody thought this was ridiculous, and now things are actually concrete and happening.
And this is it. The closer we get towards that, the more likely it is going to happen. Yeah. But there's always that possibility that it won't. So I think people are going to remain skeptical until we get much kind of further, until they have spades in the ground. That'll be a big milestone. Obviously, passing the government saying, yes, you can build this, one big milestone, spades in the ground, next big milestone, and then teasing opening is probably the one after that. Yeah. But, no.
I don't know, I just have good vibes, man.
2024, we'll be there.
We will.
For opening day.
It's not going to open in 24, is it? No. They'll push it back.
Opening day. But yeah, I mean, they're looking to be successful. They want between, I think, an average of about like 30,000 guests a day, which equates to about 10 million visitors a year. Yeah. So big numbers. I think that's by 2029 or something. So they want to play with the big boys. Yeah. Which is understandable. It's exciting stuff.
Okay, so what do you think then? Do you reckon it's actually going to happen? You have to place a bet now, live on the podcast. And then in 2024, we'll revisit and, see who was right.
I've always been... many people are like, oh, it's not going to happen. I've always been like, sure, it probably won't happen, but it'd be really nice if it did. Oh, most people won't give that. It'll be really nice if it did. Yeah. I'm not going to give a clear bet, but I'll give you a percentage. Okay. Right now, I'm hovering at the 65%.
Oh, okay. That's higher than I thought you'd say.
What about you?
80. A strong 80. I'm just feeling it. I've got good vibes. Wow. I feel like it's right for the country after Corona. I think it's going to happen.
We'll see.
It might be a bit later than we expect.
I mean, yeah.
No doubt. Yeah. But one day, we will set foot in London Resort.